A thread by Carlos Osuita. Holy crap. Chinese military hardware is garbage. This is stunning. Watch. YouTube. Chinese soldiers conduct high altitude drill in southwest China. When their most advanced tank fires, the gun rocks up and down. It isn't stabilized. That means it's a death trap. The American M1 Abrams has a stabilized main gun. Also, the Chinese Type 99 has a shot trap. The pointed front edge of the turret will channel the enemy round down onto the top of the hull, the thinnest armor on the whole tank. An elementary engineering blunder that the West knew about 80 years ago. The Type 74 has 2 seconds of fuel. The Type 74 flamethrower has 2 seconds of fuel. Each fuel tank is emptied in one jet. They use a crazy system called the explosive piston. An explosive at the bottom of the tank forces a piston upward, squeezing out the fuel. Look at the target. Flamethrowers need to be able to set things on fire. The Type 74 is useless. Our last flamethrower is the M9E1-7. They're all sitting in warehouses, waiting. These anti-aircraft guns are simply noisemakers. Oh, wait, hang on. Let's look at this flamethrower for a second. Let's see how long the video is. Oh, all right. It's a long video, so check it out in the description. It's the M9E17 flamethrower. These anti-aircraft guns in the picture are simply noisemakers when it comes to American aircraft. We send in stealth aircraft to drop cluster munitions. Before we phased out all our anti-aircraft cannons, we quietly shipped some to Iraq and used them on snipers. I remember a BBC reporter being outraged and calling it unfair. Those are 25mm Gatling cannons. The QJZ-89 heavy machine gun is giving the assistant gunner a concussion. These are Chinese hardware, by the way. Is giving the assistant gunner a concussion. The muzzle brake, fitted to keep the gun from rising, is setting the muzzle blast right into the guy's head. Let's take a look. Bam, bam, bam. They use semaphore flags to tell an entire battery when to fire. This army is rigidly, see, there's the semaphore flag. This army is rigidly centralized. It doesn't stand a chance against the US and our allies. The reason James Mattis was fired was that he wanted a centralized armed forces. He was a micromanager. Trump had to get rid of him. The people who pulled off the Beirut operation were operating independently. They had a timetable. Everything else was up to them. You can bet that multiple redundancies were built in. The operation didn't begin until all the singletons were ready. They communicated with an undetectable means. Frequency hopping, spread spectrum, wireless radio signals are undetectable. This is the technology used on the guided missiles. All they had to do was radio in at 0-2 and say green ready or something like that, blue ready, purple ready, or a code, apple, pear, banana, melon. At 0 hour, the drone swarms were launched. Those little pre-programmed buggers did the rest. The Chinese have a state-of-the-art army from 1983. They know it. No war with China. As for North Korea, they destroyed their only nuclear test site in 2018. It doesn't matter what they say, it matters what they do. Trump has been Kim Jong-un's teacher in the art of manipulating the Western media. All Kim has to do is say something, and the press reports it as though it's fact. This totally takes the pressure off of North Korea. They will prepare themselves for joining the world of nations. We have no idea if Trump secretly sent help to manage the pandemic. Kim knows that Trump will help secretly. No loss of face. Bolton had to be fired because he loves war and collective punishment. Trump values all human life except for the incorrigibles. The reason the Gulf Arabs are so effective at clandestine warfare is that they know some people have to be killed, almost nobody. But when a person must be killed, the Gulf Arabs do it without a qualm. How many times has Trump refused to send a message by killing a huge number of people? I used to think this way, Curtis LeMay, if you kill enough of them, they stop fighting. Yes, but too often not for good. And you create resentment and humiliation that last forever. This is why the Germans and Japanese really don't like us. The best way to fight is under the radar. You still defeat them, but you don't humiliate them. Don't kid yourself. The Palestinians were not shut out of the negotiations. They now get to protest and sulk and complain to save face. But they have no choice but to accept. And almost all Palestinians will be happy. By pretending to shut them out, we allowed them to save face by playing the aggrieved victim. There's no way in hell that any Arab country would have agreed to shut them out. It's why Assad hasn't been overthrown. All it does is create a future war. Trump and his allies are fixing the world, as in for good. The Chinese are fascist expansionists, so they must be contained. Everyone who wants to improve will be helped in the most face saving way possible. If they insist on causing trouble, we now have the means to effortlessly fuck them up secretly. Russian, Russia, China, and Iran are basically the last three world troublemakers. As after Trump wins, they'll have a major attitude readjustment, or they'll keep getting hit secretly. The choice is theirs.